I've got 2 containers of no paint gel stain here. One is golden ash, which is this color, and the other one is American honey, which is this color, neither of which I love for this piece. So I'm going to try to add some black colorant to one of these to darken it up.
Color outside the lines.
So I've given this a scuff sand and I'm putting on some gloves. I've opened up my container. I'm going to scoop a little bit out and put it into this lid. Now I'm going to need very little to do this, so this is probably even too much. I think that should be sufficient. I'm using this black colorant. I'm just going to put 1 drop to start. Whoops! Didn't want to do that. Okay, altogether that's 10 drops. I'm liking that a lot better. I'm just going to dip in. It's just going to freshen up this old finish. As you can see, it looks much nicer there. And I can add several more coats on if I want it darker. It really does a good job of hiding all the scratches. It just colors them and fills them in nicely. The great thing about this pad is that you can also rub back the excess. Okay, that's done. I'm going to remove the gloves, let that dry. I'm also going to do the interior. Got stuff in there. Here's a tip, don't wear old gloves because you run the risk of getting old paint in your fresh stain. So unfortunately I've got white in there now. I'm going to have to let it dry and maybe just give that a scuff. Once again, I've scuff sanded the surface and I'm just going to take a little bit of water and mist a piece of t-shirt cotton here. And I'm just going to run it over to pick up any dust. This is my second pass. So I'm just going to make sure all the dust is gone. Get into all these crevices here. You can see it's picking up. Now this top has really seen better days. It's got lots of scratches. It's really worn. It's just veneer. So this is going to touch it up and just make it that much nicer. And again, as I mentioned before, you can use up to, let's say, 3 coats of gel stain if you wish to make it darker. So this time I'm going to learn from my mistakes and I'm using a brand new pair of gloves. I don't want anything getting into my finish accidentally. I was previously staining with white. I used the no pain gel stain and pickling white on another piece. So fresh gloves. Again, I'm using the same applicator pad. I'm just going to dip in and I'm going with the grain here. Now, you don't want to curve your strokes. You want it to go with the grain. So be sure you're nice and straight. And isn't that lovely? It just really, really freshens it up. And adding that little bit of black really tones down a little bit of the red in here. Now, of course, if you want a dark color, you can go with a completely different color altogether. But if this is what you have and you want to be able to use it, keep in mind that, as I showed you before, you can use just a little bit of colorant to tint it, and you can get a color that's much nicer. Or not really nicer, I mean the color was nice as it was, but I just didn't want anything too red. I just wanted a touch more darkness in here. So the wonderful thing about these applicator pads is that you can use it to both apply and wipe back any extra. Of course, if you prefer, you can use just a little bit of t-shirt cloth. I'm just going to try to get into the edges here. So I'm not even going to dip in again. I'm just going to go around and use what I have on the cloth and just get these edges. That looks pretty good. Got a second set of eyes here. What do you think?
Yeah, looks amazing.
Yeah. So it just really beautifies it, and you know, you don't have to, because it's veneer, you don't have to take the veneer off. You can just go over with a fresh coat of gel stain, and it really, really does beautify it. I'm going to take just a small bit of this t-shirt fabric, and I'm just going to wipe back any excess that I see here. Got a little bit too much on the edge, so I'm just going to take that off. Got a little bit of stain on there. Now if you feel it dragging, it's already starting to dry and it's probably starting to set up. So you got to be really quick about this in wiping back any excess. As you can see by what's left in the lid, I mixed exactly enough. I've just got a little bit left over here. So I'm just going to let that dry and then I can dispose of it. One more thing before we end off this segment. I just want to give you a tip that this stuff really is combustible. The vapor can self-ignite very easily on a hot day, so never ball up your wasted applicators or even your t-shirt cloth. Always put it into a tin can of water, let it soak, and then dispose of it. I added the excess paint onto my paint stick here. I'll know that I added 10 drops of black to American Honey to get this color. As you can see, it really does darken it up. But on here you can still see the red through because that is what the original color was. So now I'll have a record for next time. Whenever I want to stain, I'll be able to refer back to this to see what 10 drops of black looks like. That's my original Golden Ash and my original American Honey. I may be wrong on this, but I think you have to leave it at least 6 hours to dry between coats. And I personally would give it a couple of days before you top coat it with a clear coat, because it is an oil-based finish. I think it's safe to say just leave it 72 hours. But again, I will check on that and leave more details on the blog. Now that my gel stain is dry, I'm going to be putting on 2 coats of clear coat satin. I'm using Dixie Belle's clear coat and my favorite mini brush, and this is my mini angle. I've already got 1 coat on here. I'm going to do 2. I completed the first one about an hour ago, so I'm just going to dip in and brush it on. Now once I have it brushed out to the edges, I'm just going to use smooth strokes to brush it. Make sure you've got the edges really well. So just take some long strokes. And this is self-leveling. You can't even see brush strokes in the first coat here. Try not to overwork it. Now when I dip the brush, I'll show you in a moment that I'm starting in the middle and going out to the edges. So you can see I've got both sides of the brush wet. I'm going to start in the middle and go out to the edge, and then work my way back from the middle and out to the other edge here. And again, taking long strokes with the grain just to smooth that out. I'm just going to bring this forward so I can get the edge. Just going to come at an angle and then smooth it out straight. Just so I can get right up to the edge. I don't want to spill over the edge. I don't want to get clear coat pooling or dripping over the edge. So there, I'm going to call that done. I'm not going to show this on camera, but I'm going to do the same to the inside of the actual body of the cabinet, and then I'll be able to move on to paint. For more upcycle ideas, be sure to subscribe and ring that bell for upcoming projects.